Previously, I talked about a tree. This tree was underwater, my first visit, which I'm calling Series 1, all the way underwater. If we held on to it, we had to also hold our breaths, as well as onto the tree. In Generation 2, when Miller was there, it was like half out of the water, because the tide was not nearly as high. While my brother was holding on to this tree, I decided, hey, I'm just going to toss a little rock down, see if I can hit his arm, make him let go. Because we were doing something, and we needed to really up our efficiency.
I was on the fence at the time, I think.
Yeah, you were...
That big wooden fence.
He was on the big wooden fence, staring down at me. I was on the bank, I was on the upper bank, and I looked down at Reed to the lower bank, where the tree was, and I threw the rock at his arm, and he didn't let go.
The rock that changed everything.
The rock heard around the world.
Alright.
I throw the rock, and, so we start just tossing rocks down. It starts off with just, like, a little dropping rocks on him, really. And then I started, putting a little bit of force into it, not trying to hit him. Well, I mean, trying to hit him, but not trying to hurt him. Alright? I hit him enough times. We hit him a good couple of times, I think.
Nothing severe.
Nothing severe. Yeah, it was just like...
I mean, I didn't hit him
hitting
at all,
him with
my
rocks.
aim is so trash.
More towards the end of me throwing rocks at him, Miller started trying to throw, and he couldn't aim for crap. So after Reed had been knocked off, we had thrown a decent number of rocks at him. He's like, okay, it's your turn. I'm like, all right, my turn. I'm ready for it.
Like, no, it's my turn, actually.
That's right.
Second.
Yeah. No, I remember thinking it was my turn, and then you're like, yeah. Screw this, if I can beat Reed.
And then Reed started throwing it.
Reed started throwing.
Very, very close to my eyeball.
Reed was really, Reed must have thought that we were chucking them at him, as we were just sort of, tossing them.
I bailed.
Yeah, Reed started blasting these rocks down at him, and one went very close to his eye on, the second throw, and you're like, I'm done, not doing this, right? So I'm like, finally, right? I hop down there. I'm doing a pretty good job of dodging them. One of them hits me. I think one that you hit me in the shoulder.
I hit you?
You hit me one time,
wow.
And that was it. The only time Miller hit anyone, it was me, and it was like it didn't even. It was like a graze. You grazed my shoulder. Everything else was Reed. Reed hit me a couple times in the back or on the leg, and he really was chucking them. He was like, doom. My mom walks outside just as Reed tells this one, right? She doesn't see it. She was on the porch, and Reed chucked this rock square in the forehead, right here, right. You can't see it. It was. I don't have a picture. Just off center.
It was pretty bad.
All right, and it instantly made a massive bump, like the biggest bump I've ever had on my body. Right, I go and I fall back into the river like if you were fighting someone on top of spaceships. No. If you were in the Star Wars universe and you both had spacesuits on and you were on top of a TIE fighter, it was round, and you started boxing and you punched the one guy off and he flew off and it was I got pulled back into the stream. And I was like, it was really dramatic, but also it hurt a lot. So I staggered onto the bank. I didn't cry. I was very good about not crying. But my mom was walking out to the car, and I was like, oh, Mom, my head hurts. And she's like, why does your head hurt? Oh, my God! She turns around to see this massive, just looks like a tumor. It actually looked like a tumor. And I've seen tumors before on my dog. My dog used to have tumors.
What else did we... Oh, yeah, we went to Donuts.
Donuts.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We park in the back. We're already a bit suspicious of it.
It looks...
So, my
First,
dad
let's describe
says
the outside.
He liked it. My dad went there before us, and he said he liked
it. It's really small, and it's attached to another, an insurance building or something.
It's really cool looking.
It is. It looks really cool.
It's all, like,
it
black
looks
and
like
white.
Like the old building used to be a bank, and they just like put a partisan wall between it and just sold that bit there.
So we walk in. We see the guy. He's like early 20s. Looks like it. Has a little stubble going. He has curly hair. And he's going like he has his hands down on the counter.
Yeah,
he's
looking
that.
kind of like with the light.
Completely silent.
We walk in there. There's no one else in there, and it's just like it's really quiet.
And so
it was a little ominous, but not in a way that was like creepy ominous. It was just like this is weird. It was weird ominous.
And then he says, "So, what can I get you folks today?"
As if we had asked for like drugs. It seems like it wouldn't have been out of the ordinary.
And
he asked it in such a way.
They had the donuts, and then the donuts old-fashioned.
Old-fashioned. That classic.
That classic donuts flavoring, you know?
And I was like, I got a newer, not old-fashioned donut. We don't know what's in the old-fashioned donuts. We can't say for sure it's not a cover.
We don't know.
We've got no clue. However, I gotta say, I got the key lime pie. It was excellent. It was
great donuts.
Mwah. They were very good donuts.
Possibly better cocaine.
We have no clue. It wasn't your traditional like donuts with a hole in them. They were all, I forget what style of donut that's called.
Like a pastry?
They're like cake donuts. They're whole. There's no holes. They are a hole without a hole.
We're just clowning on them. I'm sure they don't actually.
Yeah,
sell
I really
cocaine.
doubt that they do. They seem like nice people, and not people who would sell cocaine.
Yeah, but that's exactly the people you have to be suspicious of.
Right? Because you can't trust them.
You can't trust anybody.
I love this quote, and I'm going to be paraphrasing here because I don't remember it properly. You can't trust the trustworthy ones, but you can trust the untrustworthy ones, because you can always trust that they'll be untrustworthy. It's the trustworthy ones you have to look out for.
Whoa.
That's Pirates of the Caribbean Jack Sparrow. Whoa. Who watches The Watchmen? The Watchmen watches The Watchmen. That's who watches The Watchmen.
I don't know what this is, but it's kind of hot.
While we were waiting for the orientation, right, we decided to go around the library for a little bit, and there was a bookstore we found on the second floor.
Yeah.
And in that bookstore, there was a used vinyl section, and it caught Miller's eye instantly, and I was also, I'll go check that out, right? And while we were looking at some of them, we were looking through them, and an older gentleman approaches us.
He looked to be about like mid-70s?
Mid-70. He looked probably mid-70. And he was in a getup that hinted that he was some sort of veteran.
Patches all over.
He had patches all over his sort of like jacket, emblems. He had a cool military-looking hat. Mm-hmm. It looked like it was yeah. And he was like, I find some pretty good ones sometimes, but a lot of the time, the biggest issue is they got deep scratches in them. They got big, deep scratches in that ruins them. They're worthless when they got scratches. I had a really, so.
He just launches into this,
yeah,
stories.
He approaches us. I should have asked his name. I was thinking about asking his name, and I didn't. He approaches us, and he's like, I had a really nice turntable. It was a pretty, I used to listen to records on it all the time. And then one day, I was just, at my house, and there was an explosion outside and some grenade shrapnel and someone's jawbone came through the wall and right into my turntable. And I was like, what? Right? Apparently someone had been blown up outside this guy's house, and their jawbone and some of the shrapnel had been sent through the wall into this guy's turntable, which is exactly what I just said. But it was so it was like, what? What? He's like, yeah, it was a really nice turntable. It's a shame it got ruined. And they started talking just about other collectible things he had. he had like, what was this thing after that? I feel like there's something between that.
The blackface.
I thought there was something between that and the blackface thing.
I don't think so.
Okay.
And then after that, there was the thing I didn't know.
We'll get into that. About. Yeah. So he had some like, he also had some like makeup that people would use for blackface, and his mother got rid of it when it became politically incorrect because he was. So
good reason.
Good reason. You know, he fought in Vietnam, and
he was also in Africa at one point.
Directly after Vietnam, he went to Africa, right? And so that is like apparently everyone over there loved blackface. Yeah, his mom got rid of that, but he's like, oh, nowadays that's a collector's item. That's worth tons of money. That one, it's worth a lot of money.
He talked with a bit. He couldn't really pronounce his R's. Very well.
Well, he was from Austria. He was born in Austria, and he had been, possibly, we don't know if he was spooking us, because he was also a spook. If you don't know what a spook is, it's a kind of spy, right?
It is a spy.
It's a spy.
His whole family's spooks.
We'll get to that in a bit, right? But yeah, so he was born in Austria. He was telling us about how in elementary school, when he was 8, in school, when kids' heads were getting blown off.
He would just be driving.
He would. Yeah. Okay. So in elementary school in Austria, someone was shooting something. I don't know, right? And it would go into the school, and like from time to time, some kid's head would get blown off.
The principal.
The principal died.
The principal got eliminated.
That's the choice. That's what he said. He said the principal got eliminated. A shot went through his window and into his chair.
Oh my god.
He used the word eliminated.
Like Overwatch.
Yeah. Austrian principal eliminated.
100%.
Yeah, eliminated Austrian principal.
And then he started talking about his experiences on like ships and stuff.
Yeah, ships. Well, first, you said that like people had to hold him down. So after shooting all of the gunny, shooty things in the war, right? It's sort of instinctive. When he hears a loud noise, he sort of ducks for cover, right? So when he at boot camp, when he was like graduating, they had to get a bunch of big guys to hold him still while they fired off the celebration cannons, because otherwise he would freak out. He'd push people out of the way to get to like shelter, right? When he's driving, I guess he like if the back when cars used to backfire, it would and he would duck under like while he was driving, he'd duck under the dashboard.
This one time, his wife came up to hug him when he was going to work, and then she like held him on his back.
Yeah, she got and he flipped her. He flipped her and threw her. His daughter tried to wake him up one time, and before he was completely conscious, he knocked her across the room into the closet. Like, so now he said that his daughter uses a broom to wake him up because she can't get close to him. He can sleep through anything. He said he can sleep through machine gun fire.
And that's a result of his time on military ships.
That's right. He spent a lot of time. He was in the Navy, and then
Marine. He was like a corpsman.
Yeah, he was in the Navy, and then after like a year and a half of being in the Navy, they were like, "Guess what? You're going to the Marine Corps." Corps. It's spelled corpse. So while he was on on the ships, ships move around a lot. So things on the ship move around a lot, right? They have to tie all their furniture to like walls and stuff so that it doesn't move around. And when you're sitting at your desk, you have to tie your legs.
You have to wrap your legs.
You have to wrap your legs
around
the legs of the desk.
Because
otherwise the chair will start moving.
When the ship
rocks,
it like his entire desk would just
just roll around. Yeah, but he had like a post, and it was in a small metal box, and metal conducts vibration and sound, and a ship is constantly being run, like day and night, 24/7, and it's noisy as heck because the engines. Ships are big. They're ships. They're not boats. So it like almost amplified it because he was in like a small box of a room. It was just like constant, just like constant. Yeah. So and he learned to sleep in this because the bed situation. A lot of times he didn't even go down. Sometimes they would work 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. the next day.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and so.
And he could just he could sleep through anything, and he could sleep on anything.
And he was saying that sometimes he would just like in his post
coil a
rope, lay down on a coil of rope, take a quick nap in this loud room, just sounds emanating from everywhere. It was like how we're like, oh man, this library's got a lot of library there's a library there, Ooh. It's like it's just sound everywhere, right? Apparently, so the sleeping situation is you've got like 24 inches between each bed. They were called like coffin stacks. And it's 3 stacked on top of each other, and they were 6 feet by 2 feet. And yeah, you had like 24 inches of space between the metal bit here and the metal bit here. And on that, you had to put your mattresses and you had to get your mattress, all your sleeping stuff, right? And all of your all the belongings you weren't keeping in lockers or anywhere.
Yeah, it was, dude. Oh my god.
I don't know.
Like, if you're ever in the military, you have to.
You're gonna want to get a top bunk because
there's a chance you'll be able to sit up.
Yeah, you can't sit. There are above the bunks are piping, and on the top bunk you might be able to get your head between some piping so that you may sit up straight. Oh my gosh, I can't even. My back hurts just thinking about
Yeah.
Oh. And then, but yeah. So this dude, he slept through. He was on the top bunk. Directly above him was. Apparently, there had been a breach in the lower hull, so they had to evacuate some of the guys, and they had to get in these planes so that they could lift it out of the water and do repairs on the.
It was the USS Midway.
The Midway, yeah, on the bottom. He was on the Midway, and all these loud vehicles came. They took people up and off, right, and then all these louder vehicles came. Hit the boat at 200 miles an hour with these giant steel, what was it, like rope or
coils,
coil, and hooks, and they were like grabbing it and hooking it and pulling it up, and they're hitting it at 200 miles an hour, and he slept through it. He just slept through it.
Snoring.
Whenever there's a breach and hole, they have to do that loud alarm, like yeah. He slept through it. Directly above him, these giant, just slamming the top of the ship.
Huge titans of metal just
slept like a baby.
Yeah, it's. Oh my god. He.
Good morning, everyone. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, dear.
He kind of inadvertently caused us to be late to the orientation because
we were a little bit late to the orientation because we were so caught up in listening to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Now he was also telling us about his dad. Now I think his dad fought in World War II, and he also told us about his daughter and such. All of the things. We'll get to that in a bit. His dad, I think, fought in World War II, and they were Austrian, right?
Yeah.
And he was riding on an ambulance one time, right? He was on an ambulance after what I assumed to be just a recently fought battle, and he saw something in the road. It was a body in Nazi uniform, right?
Mm-hmm. Could have been a Nazi. Could have not been a Nazi. Could have been a spook.
We've got no clue. What if it was a spook?
Oh my god!
Right? He reached down while the ambulance was moving and just sort of grabbed the helmet right?
Mhm.
When he got off the ambulance, he got home. He looked at it. There's a helmet in his hands, and inside the helmet is a head. He's got a helmet with a Nazi head. Well, he's got a Nazi helmet with a head in it, right? And he's like, oh, I don't want all this fleshy garbage all over my hands. That's gross. He puts it out back in like in front of an ant's nest or something, and he lets the ants and all the bugs eat all of the flesh. So he's got a Nazi
Helmet and skull.
Helmet and skull. A real Nazi skull in a real Nazi helmet. Now, this guy, the Vietnam War vet, he still has this. He said he still has it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said that he took it. He wrapped like Christmas wires around it, and like the conductive wires, and he put Christmas lights in the eyes, and he put it on a pike and used it as Christmas decoration. I've never heard anything so just what? I mean, that's pretty, first of all, badass. Second of all, what? Oh my gosh. So, this guy's dad, he was saying, he was a spook. What should we call this guy? I feel like
the man. Well, it's a little late for that now.
Yeah, I know. All right, right. So he was saying that he was a spook, and when he died, right? He said his father. He would have denied it if you had told it to his face. He said his father had a box. And he said, "Don't ever open this box, because just don't open it, right?" And after he died, he opened the box. It was a bunch of classified CIA files. This guy was a spook. His dad was a spook. He was saying that while he was working with nuclear stuff, I guess he did some like nuclear weapons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, okay, this is what a spy looks like. They're gonna have this kind of binoculars, this kind of walkie-talkie, this kind of stuff. This kind of rifle. His father had all that stuff.
Yeah.
So his father was a spook. He didn't even know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming his mother didn't either. And so he was told just to burn the box, but he looked in the box, a bunch of classified CIA files. Like, oh shoot, right? He was a spook, and now his daughter, she graduated from Boone High School. She finished like all the classes she had to do when she was like 16, and then they were like, no, we can't let this happen. You got to go take some languages, go learn Arabic and stuff, right?
She wanted to take summer school, but she couldn't because she was too
smart. Wouldn't let her take summer school because of her intelligence. So she had to graduate even a year after. If she had taken the summer school, she would have been able to graduate like, what would that be? That was sophomore year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she had to go junior. But she was like, you're not allowed to go to summer school. Anyway, yeah, he was a spook. She is a civil affairs. She's a civil affairs agent.
She works in civil affairs
which is basically just a nice way to say spook.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what she does, she's medically trained as well as
combat
ready. Yeah. So what she does, she's Filipino, much like me, but more Filipino probably.
Yeah.
And so she can get away, like, they kind of look like
the kind of blend of Filipino and Caucasian that sort of, they
can pass as Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is that him?
Is that who? What?
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him. We're in the recording booth right now, and we're looking.
Oh my, yeah, that is. Look at his hat.
I know, yeah. We're looking out the window at the what studio is that? The Fab Lab. It's like a 3D modeling printing studio type looking thing. And he's talking to the director of the Melrose program here, it looks like. Hey, that's so cool. Yeah, look, he's putting his hat on. That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically, right there pointing to him, what his daughter does is she'll she'll be out on the field. She might shoot some guys. She might provide first aid. She can deliver babies and stuff. What she does, right? Since women over there, like in that society, they're not allowed to, really talk to men without explicit permission. Yeah. What she does, she listens in on conversations to people that she's providing medical attention to, or like women who are married to high ranking folks, and then she'll take that information and report back. But also, she's not afraid to shoot some guys. So that's so cool. Oh, he was also talking about when we were talking about collectibles. He was talking about a Mustang. He got a Mustang when he was in Africa, and it was him and his dad had this Mustang. Like pretty soon after they got it, there weren't a lot of cars in Africa. They were in Africa at the time. There weren't a lot of cars in Africa, so people weren't really looking out for cars. There was a jungle right next to the road, and so some lady walking out of the jungle got right in front of his dad when they were driving, and slam, dead as a doornail, and it stained the front of the car. Right? They got the car for $3,000, and then sold it to I forget the technical term for it. Basically, it's like a high priest of a Muslim, Arabic, sort of temple type thing. He sold it to them for $8,000 with the stain, and he bought it because of the Mustang logo. It's got a horse on it, and like the racehorses, they're like really big in that culture. I thought that was cool. This guy, he's insane. He's just walked by. I'm waving to him. What a guy. So after we finished, right, we started. It's a ghetto area, right? And so we started walking back through like the neighborhood, back to where our bus was parked. We were gonna stop, eat a little bit of lunch at a local elementary school. They were letting us use their cafeteria, and I was pretty hungry. The whole band was pretty hungry, right? We just marched for like an hour and 30 minutes. People are barbecuing in their backyard. They're cooking. Now, like I was saying, I'm cool with people with the use of marijuana. If you want to go use marijuana, you go right ahead. Anyway, I'm not super fond of the smell of marijuana. It's not a really pleasant smell. But when paired, so there was a guy he was grilling out back, and he had a fryer. He was frying up some French fries, some fresh French fries, and smoking a blunt. Like, there were blunts everywhere, right? The smell of French fries and marijuana was the most glorious thing I've ever smelled. I've never smelled anything better, right? French fries smell great. Marijuana, less great. Together, if heaven has a smell, if the clouds excreted a perfume, this is what it would smell like, folks. I had never been more freaking nasally appeased ever before in my life, and I don't think I ever will.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. So, this first one. In Chicago, I go and visit Chicago. I did one time back when one of my mother's friends lived in Chicago. And in Chicago, they have these trains. They're not like subways. They're above-ways. That's not what they're called, but that's what I'm going to call them. Because they're above, they're like raised up off the ground instead of being under the ground. So I'm calling them above-way. And I'm on this above-way. I believe it was the green rail. we had just gotten in. We got off the airport. We took a little taxi into town, and they just dropped us off at the edge of town, at the edge of like where it started getting really Chicago-y, I guess. And we were like in front of this smaller restaurant, and then that restaurant was next to like a Starbucks coffee, and then there's like a station that we could get up on, and we're like, all right, well, that's what we're doing. We're gonna get up on this above way, eat fresh. So we get on, and we're waiting a little. We spend a little bit of time on this train, and while we're on this train, a street preacher who is also homeless walks through. He's walking through the cars. He's walking. I can hear him one car away. He's talking about God and how you should donate money so that he can get food, and how God will bless your soul and stuff. He was, in fact, both a homeless man and a street preacher. But, he walks into our car, and he's a little bit quieter than he was in the last car, but he's still yelling. Like, his voice is raised. And he's, I don't remember too much of what he said at the beginning, but for a second, he takes a seat next to me. And he starts thinking for a second. He goes silent for like 30 seconds, and he looks very deep in thought. And I go, what is this man thinking about? And then I hear him mutter, right? 420 plate. No, 420 blaze it. More like 420 praise it. All right? He stands up, he starts shouting, 420 praise it, 420 praise it, 420 blaze it, no, 420 praise it. And every time he says praise it, he does like this. He bows down with his hands together. It's like 420 praise it. Ooh, and he's really sounding like a street preacher. He's got that street preacher voice. And he goes on to the next car, and I hear this one guy as the door closes, shut the hell up. Except he didn't say hell. He said the F word. And he just kept on walking. For whichever what holiday did we just have that made us have a longer, it was just a student holiday, right? We had an extra day off, so my mom and all of the people who we like to spend our breaks with, we went camping, as we do. That's like a popular white person thing to do nowadays, is go camping. We are no longer using our Airstream camper, and so the guy that we were renting the thing from, we didn't tell him that we brought our sugar glider, right? So my mom was like, all right, Davis, you got to distract the little ones in the sugar glider for right now, because...
What's a sugar glider?
Oh, okay. So a sugar glider...
Tell the people out there.
A sugar glider is a marsupial, like... You would think it's a rodent because it's a small little furry thing, but it's not. It's a marsupial. And it's nocturnal. It's got big eyes. It's like a bush baby, but mixed with a flying squirrel. She walks off to go talk to the guy and get ready for setup. I take some of her money and go to buy ice cream at the Honey Hole, which is what we call the store. I start walking up the stairs to the Honey Hole, and my brother is freaking out. Rabies! Rabies! Ah, rabies! Rabies, he's gonna kill you! He's gonna kill you! I'm like, what, dude, what's going on? That squirrel, man! Right? There's a squirrel at the top of the stairs, and he does not look good. This poor squirrel has had a rough life. He's had a rough time. He's got, like, what looks to be a massive tumor on the side of his face. Everywhere. He's real scruffy. His tail is real thin. There's no real fur on his tail. And I go up there, it's like, dude, it's just a squirrel. The door to the store, which is always open except for at night, was like barricaded with like some chairs. I was really weirded out here. It's like, no, dude, the shopkeep, he said he's been attacking customers all day. Reed was like, yeah, dude, no, it kept trying to bite the shopkeep. It keeps jumping up on her, and it's really aggressive. I'm like, dude, it's a squirrel. It's not going to do anything. I walk up there.
We can handle it.
We can handle a squirrel. I take my first step onto like the second story balcony. that the shop is on. And the squirrel runs at me. I'm like, nope, no. Jump all, like, I ride the railing down the stairs. Reed is running behind me. Get the heck out. Like, Jay, my other brother, and the friend that he brought was downstairs, and they're like, dude, it's just a squirrel. I'm like, no, man. This thing looks bad. This is in no good condition.
Bad news burls.
We calls bad news burls. Reed decided to name the squirrel Ray because we wanted to let Ray be. He is so clever. He is so clever. Anyway, the squirrel jumped down from the top balcony while we were down there, so we ran back up. Right? Yeah, he like climbed down the side of the thing, and we were like, yeah, let's go buy that ice cream now. Get up there, shopkeep's like, oh yeah, man, he climbed up on me, he tried biting me, it was scary, right? They did catch him later, when he was up. He kept going up to the store front and attacking customers, and they put a trap out, and they relocated him. You know, I guess college and a circus might not be all that different, in various ways, including the nutcases that go to both of them, because there were some, like, college kids who were camping a few sites away from, like, the main place that we were hanging out. They were freaking weird, bro. On my first time going over to the main, like, the campsite where everyone was hanging out, I was riding my bike, and they were just playing Can Jam, which is a game that a lot of people play camping. Lots of white people play Can Jam while they're camping. You know, it seemed like good enough people. It was two dudes, two girls. Presumably they were both couples with each other. Just riding my bike past. How you doing, guys? Good. How about you? Oh, all right. On my way back, it was later in the evening. I was heading back to my campsite. I would be going back. They were dancing with hoops to, like, this really energetic, like a pop funk electro combo. It was weird. I didn't like it. It was weird, but they were like dancing with hula hoops all over, and they had like a bunch of hula hoops and freaking out, and, like, bending, doing some weird gymnastics with the hoops. I'm like, okay, all right, you guys do that. I actually stopped to watch them for a second because it was kind of impressive how hoopy they were being. I was heading back to the campsite for dinner. It was late now, and I saw this weird glowing thing just flying around near the campsite, and I was really confused. I go over there, and they're all, like, dancing really weird, and both the dudes have their shirts off, and like, ooh, you know, and yeah, they look kind of like the blow up guys.
The ones on the boat.
The ones on the boat. Yeah, they look like get your attention for car dealerships, the big blow up dancey boys. And then this one girl had like a string with a ball of fire attached to it. And she was swinging it around her head and dancing, like, doing tricks with it. Luckily, she was wearing leggings because she hit herself on the leg with it one time. And it was like, it would retract, it would go, like, further away from her and closer. I feel like maybe it was on, like, an elastic string of some kind, or maybe she had, like, a thing in her hand that she, like, gave it some give every so often to give it some more distance or whatever. She's just swinging it around her, dancing. It got dangerously close to hitting like the other guys, but they didn't care. They were just doing their dance. Right? So I'm eating dinner at the main campsite now. I hear, yo, I think there's some crazy college kids getting, like, doing some LSD down there because they're all butt naked just standing around. And I'm like, okay, you know Davis has got to check this out. I didn't want to really check this out, but I just drove by there on the bike, and sure enough, dancing freely in the wind, I'm like, yeah, okay. Then, of course, just like every good camping trip, we played a lot of card games. However, the most memorable card game moment from that last night that we played card games, it was from Cards Against Humanity. And there was a card that was played. Now, the man, the myth, the legend, Fireman Martin We're all familiar with Fireman Martin. He wasn't playing with us, but he was right outside. He was right outside as we played. And there was a card. It was something that's like, it was blank, just saying, right? And the person who drew this card, he was like, all right, yo, because it's blank, just saying, I'm going to have you guys read your cards, right? This might get a little loud here, so I'm going to back up from the mic. I have my card, right? I've decided, backing up here, top of my lungs. The light of a billion suns! Just saying. With this, I attract the attention of everyone on the campsites either side of us, right? What I did not know, right outside the camper was Martin, Fireman Martin, doing a urination. And everyone just looked at him in his moment of vulnerability. And that is how a light of a billion suns shined upon Fireman Martin.